mistaken, Mr. Darcy. You could not have made the offer of your hand in any possible way that would have tempted me to accept it. I had not known you a month before I felt that you were the last man in the world whom I could ever be prevailed on to marry. Proposals. Marriage proposals. Possible rejections of marriage proposals. What fun! These lines from Elizabeth Bennet in the classic novel Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen are now considered one of the most famous rejections in all of English literature. No wonder many suitors now fear the same sort of scorn and dismissal. Enjoy the next humorous selections, where we learn that we should never fear rejection, even in the most monumental moments of our lives. From The Way of a Woman by Byron W. King, copyright 1908, and A Yankee in Love by Alf Burnett, copyright 1896.
It was the last night before leap year. It was the last hour before leap year. John and I were seated in my father's parlour. There was plenty of furniture drawn around, but we were only using a limited portion of it. John watched the minute hand move around the dial face of the clock until, like the finger of destiny, it registered 15 minutes of 12. 15 minutes of leap year, when he gasped hard, clutched his coat collar, and said, "Ha! Yes, yes."
Mary? In just 15 minutes, Mary. 15 minutes by that clock, Mary. Another year, Mary. We'll have gone to the great past and be forgotten, Mary. In oblivion, Mary. And I want to ask you, Mary. Tonight, Mary, on this sofa, Mary. For the next 6,000 years, Mary.
John? You seem very much excited, John. Can I do anything to help you, John?
Just sit still, Mary. Just sit still. Just 12 minutes, Mary. 12 minutes by that clock, Mary. Like the 6,000 clocks that have gone before it, Mary. Will be forgotten. And I want to ask this clock, Mary, when we've been forgotten in oblivion, Mary, in 6,000 sofas, Mary.
Oh. John, you seem quite nervous. Would you like to see Father?
Not for the world, Mary. Not for the world.
John, you don't seem very well. Would you like a glass of water?
Mary! Just 3 minutes, Mary. 3 minutes by the dreadful clock, Mary. We'll be forgotten. And I want to have 6,000 sofas, Mary. If when 6,000 fathers have forgotten 6,000 sofas 6,000 times, Mary, I want to have 6,000 Marys. 6,000 times, Mary.
John, did you hear the clock? It's leap year. Will you marry me?
Yes!
Gentlemen, the way of a woman beats you all.
We are more accepting than you may think. Meanwhile, across the sea, another suitor faces a similar dilemma. Join me as we travel from the UK to the USA and observe another heartfelt proposal. A Yankee in Love by Alf Burnett, copyright 1896.
Oh, Sal was the gal for me. One day, I decided to pop the question, for I loved her harder every day, and well, I had a feeling she loved me, or at least had a sneaking kindness for me. But I had to do the thing up nice and right, pestered me awful. Well, I bought love books and really have a fellas get down onto their knees and talk like poets, and how the gals would gently fall in love with them. Well, somehow or other that way didn't kind of suit my notion. At last, I decided to go at it blind, for this thing was fairly consuming my mind, so I goes over to her dad's place, and when I got there, I sobbed like a fool, thinking how to begin. Sal see something was troubling me, so she said, says she,
"Ain't you sick, Peter?"
Oh, she said this mighty soft like. Yes. No, that is, I ain't exactly well. I thought I'd come over tonight. I thought this was a mighty pretty beginning, so I tried again. Sal! Sally!
What?
Peter, there is something troubling you. 'Tis mighty wrong for you to keep it from a body for an inner sore. It's a consuming fire.
She said this, she did. The sly critter. Oh, she know what was the matter all the time. Mighty well, it was only trying to fish it out of me. Oh, but I was so far gone I couldn't see the point. Sit! Do you love anybody?
Well, there's Dad and Ma'am and, oh, I can't think of anybody else just now.
Now, this was awful for a fella didn't love. So, at last, tried another shoot. Sit! Powerful lonesome at home. Do you know any gal who would care for me? With that, she goes on and names all the gals for 5 miles round, and never once gave not a name of herself and said I ought to get one of them. This sort of got my danger up, so I hitched myself up close to her and shut my eyes and said, Sal, you are the very gal I've been connected for a long time. Oh, I love you all over, from the sole of your head to the top of your foot. And if you say so, we'll be joined together in the holy bonds of hemlock. I ain't longer son of one down the end on man. Says I. And I feel like I've thrown up an alligator. I felt so relieved. Peter! What, Sally?
Yes.
Oh, you bet heap. I feel good. Oh, glory, glory. I almost hollered was a bed. I sat there for 2 hours longer. Oh, you ought to see me when I got home. Oh, I laughed and hollered, I crowed like a rooster. Dad, I'm gonna be married. Yes, married. Married all over. Hooked up for life, for worse or for better. To sell. I am that greater thing. Me, Peter Sorghum, Esquire. Well, with that, I ups and tells them all about it from Alfred to a migrant. Well, they was all mighty well pleased, and I went to bed that night as proud as a young rooster. Yuck-a-ka!